Please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Welcome to the November 9th, 2023 Planning Board meeting. At the last Planning Board meeting, we met with council in executive session. Does anyone have a motion for consideration as a result of our meeting last month?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I'll offer two motions. The first motion, the board has reviewed the short environmental assessment form. It is an unlisted action. There are no significant adverse impacts from approving the stipulation, and the facility shall be reviewed, and there will be a separate but no less protective of the environment seeker review at the time of the full review. Accordingly, I offer the resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 23-24, dated today, November 9th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, the board approves the stipulation of settlement and consent order in the matter of New York SMSA Limited Partnership, DBA Verizon Wireless and Homeland Towers LLC, v. the Town of Carmel et al., United States District Court, Southern District of New York, docket number 19 CV 10793.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Ray. Any other comments from the board?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Next on the agenda, public hearing, John Chang, 716 Route 6. Mike, I don't believe you or Rich had any comments on this?
I didn't have any comments, but Joel did put the number of, not employees, parishioners to be at the church as I asked for the last couple of months, so that is on the plat now.
Okay.
It was to minimize the amount for the parking, so, thank you.
I know Rich had no comments, and Pat?
Same comment that's now in the resolution, and you have a resolution of approval before you this evening, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Anyone from the public wish to be heard on this? This seems like it's been around for a while.
Mr. Chairman, being there's no public comment, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion for the amended site plan?
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman. Resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 23-24, November 9, 2023, tax map number 76.30-1-26, Chang House of Worship, amended final site plan approval.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Joel. Thank you. Good luck to you.
And
Thank you.
have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Joel.
Veterans Day's first, sir.
Yeah.
Veterans Day's first, sir.
What's that?
Veterans Day's first.
Oh, that's true.
And John keeping you honest there. Well done, John.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night, Joe.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, also for public hearing, is Lake Plaza Shopping Center, LLC, Route 6, bond return. Rich is not here. Did Rich have a
I don't
dollar
have,
figure on, is anyone here from Lake Plaza Shop? Oh. Did Rich have a dollar
Joe's
figure?
checking right now.
I don't see a dollar amount on that.
Good evening.
Good evening. Rich is not here.
He does not.
There is a motion on the table for full bond return.
Yeah, I think that is at the last meeting, he said he was okay, but we were gonna send it on to the town board, but we had to have a public hearing here first.
Yeah.
So he did have a memo that everything was
Okay,
completed.
that's why, so. Anyone from the public wish to be heard? Someone want to make a motion?
Again, Mr. Chairman, being there's no public comment, I'll make a motion to close this public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
All Mr. Chairman, I'll offer the resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 23-23, October 25th, 2023, for tax map number 86.10-1-2 and 3, Diamond Point. Yeah, I'm doing the wrong one, I apologize.
So now
Sorry.
we can make the referral to the town.
Yeah.
That's, if you remember, we did that prematurely without the public hearing at the last meeting.
We need to close Lake Plaza.
We're still on that.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So we just closed the public hearing, now we'll I'll offer a motion to refer this to the town board for approval.
Second.
Second.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Sorry about that, guys. Another project that's been around for a while.
Yeah, it has been.
Doing some housekeeping here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the holidays.
Good night.
Thank you. You good?
Yep.
Fourth on the agenda, Diamond Point Development, 4 Baldwin Place Road. Mike, did you have any comments?
No, just that we discussed it, and they, 45-day, because you closed the public hearing, the days were going to not line up for us for another meeting. They gave us a waiver to December 14th.
14th, I think,
or
is the
something like
December
that.
meeting.
Yes.
So we don't have to worry about the dates lining up, but this is on for seeker resolution right now. I have no objection to that.
Thank you. And Rich had actually 4 pages of comments on it, I believe.
Right, he does, and what's on tonight is the negative declaration, not site plan approval. So there's a handful of rich items, and as you recall, you retained special traffic consultant to help us review this application. His review was completed just a couple of days ago. There was general consensus that their traffic study was, the 30,000-foot conclusions were accurate. However, there were a host of small details that needed to be sorted out. Our traffic consultant has indicated that they would not affect the negative declaration. However, premature to adopt site plan approval yet, all those issues have to be addressed. So the action tonight is simply the neg deck, and Adam will have to come back to continue the site plan approval process to address all of Rich's comments and our traffic consultant's comments.
Okay. Thank you, Pat.
Yes, and with the extension, as Mike just indicated, they've got plenty of time to do it, as do we.
Okay, so you need a motion.
Yep, for the neg deck.
So now we'll make the correct motion.
We got a sneak
Apologies.
preview there.
Resolution of the Planning Board of the Town of Carmel, number 23-23, dated October 25th, 2023, the tax map 86.10-1-2 and 3, Diamond Point Development, seeker determination of significance, negative declaration.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adam, I would like to mention you guys are doing a nice job on this project.
Thank you.
The renderings look good, and
Thank you. Yeah, I think the applicants, really expressed the desire to, work with the board, especially with the architecture conversation we've had over the months, and we're going to get with Rich and Pat and just make sure we can pin down those last items, and we'll be back.
we're gonna stay on this, focused on this through the whole way, because as you know, it's a really important project for us.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Next on the agenda, Union Energy Center, LLC, 24 Miller Road. Mike, I believe you had some comments?
Yeah, I had comments on both the site plan and the subdivision. I don't know which one you want me to do first or together.
You can do them together.
The applicant proposes to add a 116 megawatt battery energy storage system off Miller Road in Mahopac. It's permitted use in the CBP zoning district. There are wetlands on much of the parcel. ECB, DEP, DEC all need to put their input into this application. Mahopac Fire Department reviewed and requested a few things. They're pretty simple. They had no objection to it, but as long as they saw that, once these 4 items are addressed, the Mahopac Fire Department supports the new facility to go in. And the lot lines on this plat will be changing from what was submitted. That was an old comment from the previous time. Now, the subdivision, they're taking the lot and they're taking a piece off and giving it or selling it to NYSEG along Union Valley Road. There's another piece coming off of the parcel, I think it's called Teal Door on
Yes.
Miller Road.
Yeah.
So they're doing a little bit of change of
That
lot
project was
lines.
in front of us months ago. We had,
Yes.
yeah.
So I just asked for a zoning table, just to show me exactly each of the lots. Lot depth lines, lot width lines, just to ensure compliance with the code. And there's wetlands on the property, same thing, have ECB, DEC, DEP, all have to put their input in. And the subdivision has to go before the site plan on final approval.
Rich also has many comments. Pat, would you mind just seeing any highlights of Rich's, if
He
you don't mind?
does, so quite a few comments, mostly related to details, related to the grading and utilities plan, and the erosion and sediment control plan. I don't see any objections, it's just more clarifications in his memo, but there's a bunch of it.
Yeah. And Pat, yourself?
So the first round of review on this, there were a lot of questions that needed to be answered, so this current submission responded to most of those questions. There were clarifications about how the facility was being installed and so forth. As Mike indicated, the primary issue with this are the substantial amount of wetlands on the site and the potential impact of the project's impact on those wetland areas, locally regulated wetlands and state-regulated wetlands. Part of your comment to the applicant first time around is, can you move stuff? Can you get it out of those wetland areas? The applicants provided their opinion in response to why they can't do that, why the site is designed the way it is, and it's their opinion that they'll try to seek those wetland permits. So that's sort of out of your hands into the hands of the DEC and the ECB with respect to that. One of the issues that was also raised at the last meeting related to the adjacent trailway. So the trailway is becoming a far more significant asset to our community, and visual impacts for a lot of these uses where the trailway was the back door to a railroad years ago. Now it's the front door to a recreational amenity. So you raised concerns about the visibility of this property from the trailway. Adam's done a good job of clarifying that there's topography that prevents the sight lines to most of the site, but there is a portion where it could be visible, and they're proposing landscaping and screening to address that issue. So that's a reassuring fact with respect to that. You need to take a look at that. And finally, again, most of those issues were, the issues that I mentioned earlier were clarified, and there's a final discussion with respect to the applicant's intent to seek a pilot for this. So in the terms of your overall environmental review of this, fiscal impacts and so forth are something that comes into your wheelhouse. So understanding that pilot is important to you. However, the negotiation of the pilot, the amount of the pilot, is not in your purview. That's something that would be addressed with the assessor and so forth.
Thank you, thank you. Before we go, Anthony, at the last meeting, you put in perspective what 116 megawatt. Can you do that again for me, if not for anyone else?
So we talked, you're still at 116 megawatts of power?
Like, how big is that?
Right. I mean, if you guys want to take that first.
Yeah, so depending on where you are in the country, 1 megawatt on the peak demand day of the year can power about 500 to 1,000 homes. Indian Point, I think, was about 3,000 megawatts, so significantly smaller than that.
And again, we talked about this would be a benefit of adding power into the grid that would probably affect more southern communities than us directly. That was something that we talked about and should be prevalent. As I said, you're feeding back into NYSEG?
That's right.
Okay. So, I mean, you know, without being an expert on NYSEG's distribution, power would be going back into the grid, but a lot of this would be going down county.
Anyone from the board have questions?
I have a number of areas of questions. Firstly, just dealing with the fire risk. I understand that the fire department has asked for a few things, and you'll give it to them, and that they will be okay with this. I'm still concerned about the off-gassing that would happen during a burn. It seems like the methodology of treating the fire is not to throw water on it, to just let it burn out. In the fire that happened at a substantially smaller facility in Warwick over the summer, it burned for 3 days to finally burn out. There were concerns about the drifting vapor gas cloud. So that brings two issues to mind to me. One is the proximity of homes and businesses to the site. how far away are they? That's number one. Number two, is there a defined protocol to deal with communication to the surrounding community in the event of an emergency fire situation? So people understand what to do. In Warwick, I understand they were told to shelter in place, the schools were closed, but the immediate after effect is the concern. Fire starts, communications should go out. So I wonder if you can respond to that issue.
Yeah, that's right. So I believe the nearest house to the nearest battery container is approximately 400 feet. In the event that there was a fire, we will have an emergency response plan built beforehand and consulted with the fire department. In that, it will have any notice requirements for neighbors and that sort of thing. One thing I'll point out on gases, so the three main gases that come off of one of these fires are similar to a plastics fire. So it's hydrogen gas, carbon dioxide, and carbon monoxide. So the latter two are, things that you find in a campfire. Hydrogen gas is very atomically light, along with the other two. And so what we've seen in cases where there have been fires is that there have been no instances that I know of where there have been detectable levels of harmful gases in the surrounding community. The reason for that is these are light gases, they go up and dissipate very quickly.
I'm looking, as I'm talking to you, at an article from a company by the name of IO Mosaic, which apparently does risk analytics for this type of stuff, and I'm sure they're talking their book and everything, but let me just read to you. When oxygen is released from the decomposition reaction of the electrodes, electrolyte combustion reactions occur, resulting in flammable gases. These can include, as you say, oxygen, hydrogen, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, but also methane, ethene, ethylene, and ethane. So, and I guess that's caused by the plastics or the composition of the electrodes. I'm no expert here, but it sounds like there is a potential for these other elements to be released.
Right, and in each of the cases that I know about, and I don't know any exceptions to this, when state or federal or whoever was out there doing air testing, when there was a fire, they were not detecting harmful levels of gases that warranted people to evacuate. In some cases, fire department, sorry, go ahead.
They were told to shelter in place, and this was over the course of 3 days. And, I just question how quickly that air sampling took place in terms of the time proximity to the initial explosion and fire and the release at that point. So I'm just a little bit skeptical that coming in after the fact, a day or two later, is going to tell you the story of what happened on the day of.
My understanding is that there was testing on the day of. Obviously, it was not in the first couple of hours. And in some cases, fire departments have recommended that people, shelter in place, but that hasn't been because there has been a detectable level of harmful gases.
So look, we can go around on this, but I think ultimately where this leads to is a very swift and strong communication effort to the community, and it's got to be written and it's got to be enforceable, and that's what I think has to appear here.
Understand.
I know we said last time, what type of batteries are we talking about?
Lithium-ion batteries.
Lithium-ion, okay. In all cases?
Correct.
and they don't
There's
change
different.
them out with anything else. I just want, actually more for the public to understand that, what type of battery we're dealing with.
Could you just point out where the trailway is on the picture, if you could? Is it just that strip there?
Trailways here.
Oh, okay.
And how many, you said the home's approximately 400 feet, how close would you say the trailway is?
maybe,
Close to 1,000 feet.
Well-
We're a little closer here. We're several hundred feet. Let me jump in on this one. So, as Pat had mentioned, I took a walk. You can also see it. I could flip back to the grading plan, but you can see some of the contours. When you walk down the trail adjacent to this property, you'll look to the side, and there's actually anywhere from a 6 to 20 foot, essentially, cliff that goes up into the site that screens views from the trailway. I did mention in our response that the only area that seemed like there could be a potential view of any part of the project would be closer to Miller Road. In that area there, as you're walking north and east. So we've bulked up our plantings and screening of any part of it that could potentially be visible from the trailway in that location.
So there's a lot of businesses on Miller Road.
Yes.
How far are you from there?
Of the project itself. So we're 600 feet here to the property line, so it would be in excess of that, because most of those businesses are on the other side of the, if not
There's
all.
some on both. No, there's a few on both.
There's the Teal Door.
Yeah.
There's a couple others, but yeah.
Yeah.
Where the high school and the middle school, where would that be in relation to this project? Miles?
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is Miller
This
behind
is south of Route 6.
Mavis Tire.
Okay, yeah. So it's a little bit.
Up and over the hill you'd have to go. It's pretty far. Miles by road,
Okay.
not miles by.
On the topic of the trailway and any other, view concerns, the applicant has offered the board the opportunity, if you wanted to meet on site and walk through, we can take a walk through it. We can look at it from the trailway, so you can see what we're talking about in terms of the slopes. So if that's something that you'd be interested in, we'd be happy to accommodate that, and that might also put some of those questions to bed.
How tall are the actual trailers, whatever you call each?
yeah, so it varies a little bit from model to model, 8 to 10 feet generally,
From the ground?
from the ground.
Okay.
And there might be a, 1 foot concrete pad that they're on.
That's what I meant. They're not 8 feet above a concrete pad. They're 8 feet total,
Uh,
or 8 to 10 feet total.
Yeah, let's say 10 feet or so.
So if you were on a stepped piece of land, you're not gonna have some that are 12 feet, sticking way up above other ones.
Yeah, that's right.
When they on a normal day, normal operation, I'll call them containers. The containers are sealed or closed.
Yeah, so there's fences that are proposed. We would have locked gates at the entrance to the site, and the battery storage enclosures, which are these, and the 2 substations would be enclosed with a fence that would be locked unless someone was there performing some kind of maintenance or working on site.
Any sound coming from that?
I think there was the potential for a small amount of sound potentially from the HVAC units that keep the containers cool, but
Yeah, so the HVAC units do have sound, given where this is located, and it's not going to be heard on any neighboring properties. We may have to have some sound mitigation on certain containers, but we'll research that a little bit further.
Do the battery enclosures also serve as spill containment, or is there separate containment on the pad?
Do they have spill containment?
Yes.
So, no, most of the enclosures are, the batteries themselves are solid, so runoff is not really a concern. That said, the water will flow to the stormwater ponds, and so in the worst-case scenario, those can be vacuumed up.
I mean, honestly, that's not the answer I was looking for. In that, if you think of, what is the liquids that would come off of here? Should there be a failure or a rupture?
So if there probably won't be much of anything. Obviously plastics and that sort of thing, if they're burning, have some content that can come off of them. The water is can, mix in with things if you were to spray water on the fire. But again, our recommendation and what the fire department agrees with us on is that in the event of a fire, you're better off letting it burn than spraying water on it, in part because we want to avoid any contamination.
And flare up again. The gentleman that was here last time was very informative and explained why they should let them burn out, so.
Does it burn in place, or do they actually pull the unit out?
It burns in place.
It does.
So just follow up on Anthony's point. If there is a fire in a container, the batteries have oil, there will be liquids coming out of that fire. Those containers are not sealed. They're containers, but they're not water sealed, correct? So something would be leaching out of those containers, whether it be oils or whatever, correct?
Yes, some water can run off. However, they tend to be, there's sort of a basin with the containers as well. Like the physical structure doesn't have holes in the bottom, right? So the water will generally stay inside of there if there is any.
You keep mentioning water.
Yeah, let's clarify that. I believe you're talking about water. Should the fire department put water on it?
Yes.
I was talking about the batteries, the lithium batteries and stuff. When you burn a lithium battery, is there any oil or any liquid or what comes out of, if you just burnt a lithium battery, what escapes, what happens there?
Almost nothing. If there's stuff that's melting, it's not going to, like a plastic, it's probably not going to go very far. So that's really what we're talking about.
Thank you.
Is there another location where something like this has been built, and what kind of issues might they have had?
Yes, there's a number of locations in New York where these have been built. The nearest one, I think, is in Orange County. I have not seen any reports that have identified contamination as a major concern after a fire. Yeah.
Neighbor complaints, anybody complaining about it being in their neighborhood or anything? That you know of?
Some people do complain at planning boards and that sort of thing, but I have not seen any reports where contamination was cited as a problem afterwards, and there is testing done after a fire.
I mean, in my opinion, this is the better solution as opposed to having towers, wind towers or solar arrays, even from a standpoint of waste and removal. We're actually doing some of these in urban communities.
Nice. Okay, good.
Can I bring up some financial issues?
Please.
On the subject of decommissioning, you've got what I would consider a robust plan to decommission. Has a cost been estimated for that, and will that be bonded?
I don't have a cost off the top of my head, but usually we do have a bond with the community or with the landowner or both to ensure that there's adequate funds there.
And will that happen here?
Yes.
And there'll be a bond for, what's the word? No, when it comes out of. if they don't use it anymore. Decommissioning bond. There'll be a decommissioning bond, a bond for everything that's being built. So when Rich goes out there and inspects it, make sure it's built correctly. Yeah. Performance bond, and then an inspection fee also. So that'll all be done through the engineering department.
It's switching gears to the pilot program. I saw the numbers in there. What I don't quite understand is what the taxes would have been without would be without the pilot. So we understand what reduction you're getting as a result of the pilot.
So that's the million-dollar question, and one thing that we don't have is a state guideline as it pertains to how to assess these properties. I spoke to the assessor a few weeks ago, and he said it's a little bit up in the air for him, and so it's hard to say exactly how much it would cost without an assessment. That said, generally speaking, the batteries themselves are considered personal property, which are generally not taxed in New York, whereas the containers and other structures are real property and therefore taxable. The batteries are a very large portion of the cost of the project.
I guess I'm just a little bit unsatisfied accepting a pilot without knowing what the pilot is giving away.
So that the issue before you is will the facility offset the community service costs that we have to devote to this facility, fire protection, for example, and so forth? So that's an impact issue that you can address. The number, that's for the other guy down the hall to deal with.
But isn't it another concern beyond just the cost impact, just the contribution to town coffers? So for
that's-
example, if I knew that the town coffers would normally get on something like this 4 times the amount of the pilot, that tells me something. It tells me what I'm giving away, and I'd really like to
Right,
see
so-
if we
So
can
that,
get
Bob,
some
I think
numbers.
is a step beyond your obligation in this case. In this case, it's this project and this particular pilot, not speculatively what else could be built as an alternative.
No, I understand that, but it's this project. What would if we
Yeah,
didn't have a pilot,
that's
what
fair.
would
Can
what
you-
would the taxes be? That's
Are we
the question.
covering our service costs of this facility with the pilot that would be in place?
Or are we getting taxes?
Our fair
Well,
share is, right.
Our taxes are not just based on, are we covering our costs? Our property
true.
taxes are based on assessed value.
Right,
And I'd like to know what the assessed value is of the property once
Yeah,
it's built.
So that's a fair question, absolutely. Whether we could get more money with a different use, that's where I don't.
No, that's not what I'm asking. I'm just asking, I just want, we're effectively being asked to approve a pilot, and I think my question's fair.
And
You're not being asked to approve the pilot,
Approve the
you're
project.
considering it.
Yeah.
It's a factor to be considered, that's all.
Yeah, so, for instance, in your plan, the pilot proposal, you talk about currently the property tax for 2022 was $11,758. And then you give 3 different scenarios, a 15-year pilot, $2,000 per megawatt per year. So maybe, to Bob's point, and I was going to ask the question as well, I mean, maybe you can give us a presentation and talk about, current property values, and then, if you built it and you got the 15-year plan of $2,000 per megawatt, based on your assumption of how much megawatts you'd be taking in and moving out, how much would the revenue to the town be?
But that's what this parenthetical is.
Yeah, I know, but, well, so that's based on, so on line
Yeah.
1, for instance, on your thing, you have 15-year pilot, 2,000 megawatt year, and then you write 232K. So would that be based on the proposed 116 megawatt facility?
yeah,
Okay, all right.
So again, just to be clear, for me personally on the board, I would like to have a better idea what the assessed value would be without the pilot, just so I can be clear.
Just so we can get an understanding of the impact on the town and what it means.
I'll do my best there. Part of it is I am reliant on the assessor to,
Is there any way to look at, I realize this is one of the larger facilities, but see what else in other communities and how it's, what ratios were applied? And
yeah, so on the document I sent, gave several comparisons for other similar projects in upstate New York. And they vary a little bit in detail.
But they don't give the assessed value without the pilot. That's the key issue.
Yeah, I don't have that information.
And did I understand you correctly? You mentioned something before. So you guys are not going to be buying the property, you're going to be leasing the property?
We're going to be leasing the vast majority of the property. NYSEG, for their substation, needs to own the dirt underneath it, and so we're going to be subdividing that part.
So you're going to be leasing it from the current owner, or will there be a new? Okay.
Correct.
Current owner. All right.
NYSEG will buy from the current owner?
There will be a nominal payment, but basically we're giving it to NYSEG. East Point is giving it to NYSEG in exchange for compensation that we're paying the landowner.
One other question about the pilot. There are different components to property taxes. There is the town tax, there's school tax, there's county taxes. Are all of them being reduced proportionally by the pilot or being affected equally by the pilot? How does that work?
So we have had some preliminary discussions with the IDA, but we have not gotten to the nitty-gritty on those points yet. Generally, some of the advice that we got was to begin that in earnest once we were, getting to the public hearing phase for this. But we could accelerate that if we needed to.
Bob, I think typically a pilot loops in all the taxing jurisdictions. There may be separate negotiations for the school district and so forth. But there's typically one pilot for all of the taxing jurisdictions.
Yeah, I guess what raised the question is the paragraph underneath the three scenarios. The IDA has also suggested waiving some county and state tax payments, such as, and they give some examples. So, and talks about not including the mortgage exemption. So it looks like there is an identification of specific taxes
Right,
that
and
would be
and remember,
affected.
the IDA has a different perspective than does the town of Carmel's assessor, right? The IDA is incentivizing development. They're trying to give perks to make this
But
happen.
I guess my point is, if you told me that it's really the county taxes that are being affected, that tells me one thing. If
Yeah,
it's the
it's
town taxes that are
different
being
story.
primarily,
Yeah.
different story.
Just to jump in, to be clear, the IDA has not agreed to these terms yet. This is what we presented to them and talked to them about, but it's going to be an ongoing discussion.
So
Mr.
it's
Chairman,
an
can I
open
just
issue.
ask for one point of clarification? Bob raised earlier this notion of notifying neighbors in the case of an emergency, and your response was, these neighbors are too far away, they don't have to worry about it. Do you have other facilities, or are there other facilities where neighbors are closer, where there is a notification protocol that's in place?
I don't recall saying that exactly, but yes, I mean, you can have phone numbers for people so that we can, quickly get a hold of them. Usually, if there's a fire, it's going to be obvious that there's a fire. But yeah, I think there's many ways to skin the cat there.
One of our primary concerns is public safety with this. This is new to us, and your fire safety guy was very clear and helped us understand this. But I still think notification is an important element here. And if it's something as simple as putting in a protocol where you have the numbers of the 50 people surrounding the site, and as soon as the 911 call is made, the neighbors are notified as well, something like that, it might be a reassuring element
I
from our
think
perspective.
we'd like to see that, but I think, to your point.
Yeah, the emergency response plan.
Yeah, emergency response plan is pretty basic, right? And I think it should cover the houses that you mentioned are 400, 500, 600 feet. I don't know what the number is, less than 1,000 feet. Pick what the right number is for emergency response. I mean, smoke plume, maybe the fire department can help you with that. Smoke plumes travel a long way, right? Miller Road, right? Even what do you do with the trail? Do you close down the trail, which gets used quite a bit? So I think we as a board would like to see emergency response plan.
How would the fire department notice a fire? Is there going to be a fire alarm system, a reporting system?
Yeah, so there's a lot of monitoring there.
There's monitoring in each cell, in each enclosure?
Not in each battery cell, which is, this
No,
big,
not
but
cell.
within each box,
In
yes.
each box, yes, okay.
And, one thing that we talked to the fire department about is, and we would work this out in a bit more detail once we're further along, but having a process so that we have a way to check on things so that every time a sensor says something that there's wrong, it doesn't automatically send the whole fire department down there. Because, there will be, over the course of years, sometimes where there's some sort of miscommunication. So we don't want to waste their time sending them back and forth.
Understood.
Will there be off-site monitoring of the facility?
Yes. So there's going to be a number of sensors in there. There's going to be internet there so that it can immediately tell the person behind the desk, hey, there's a problem, we need to look at this closer.
Okay.
Mike just mentioned another thing, so you'll have HVAC equipment in each box.
Sometimes in the box, sometimes on top of the box, it varies on the model.
Are you drawing the power from that from the batteries? Or are they separately connected into the grid?
So there's going to be extra generation that powers the HVAC system.
And
in
what's
a-
that generation? Is it from the batteries or?
From dedicated batteries.
Okay.
But in addition, we're looking to have, a backup generator.
That's where I'm going on this, so the notion that the one air conditioning unit on the box isn't noisy, but the 40 megawatt generator could be. So where that's going, the noise of that's a concern to us.
I'm not clear on understanding, where is the power for the air conditioning units that service the containers coming from? Electrical lines, generation,
Lighting.
batteries?
So typically on a normal day, there's going to be the extra batteries that are encompassed within this plan. So we haven't called out which containers exactly, but they're going to be batteries that run the operations and maintenance. In the event that there were a fire, for example, or if there was another issue, there will be a small generator on site, sometimes a diesel generator that can power them because, the batteries only last for a few hours and not forever. Oh, we do have something shown. on
Adam,
there.
what are you showing?
That's the location of the generator. That'll be the backup generator.
So we'll need the decibels on that. We'll need a lot of information on the generator.
Okay.
How big is it, Adam? You know offhand?
I don't know.
So the
Also
generator
transfer?
would,
Okay.
so you indicated that there'd be certain discrete batteries that would be used to power the HVAC. And that generator would only kick in if there was a problem with that discrete set of batteries. Is that
Right,
correct?
so 99.9% of the time, that generator is not going to be on, or more than 99.9.
So your primary source is DC from your batteries.
Uh,
Your secondary source is going to be the generator, which I would assume then you're going to have a transfer switch.
I would
Set
assume,
up for-
I'm not an electrical person, but I
So, I mean,
believe so.
That's stuff that we would want to see on the plans, is exactly how you're going to transfer power, the type of generator, type of switch, the size of the transfer switch.
And again, to Anthony's point, how often that generator gets exercised. Yeah, 99.9, you're not using it, but you exercise it every week.
It
So
typically
the folks that live
would get
nearby are
exercised.
probably concerned about that.
Yeah, it charges its own batteries weekly at least.
And I'll point out, the generator location that we put on there is in the middle of the property. There are a lot of woods to the nearest neighbors, so that will help as well.
Okay,
This is state-owned land. There's nothing there. It's wooded. It's undeveloped. So Scott's comment is that this is pretty central to the site and about almost as far away from either the trail or any of the residences as it almost could be.
Okay, any other questions and/or comments? If not, we'll ask you to continue to work with Mike and Rich, and we'll see you back here.
Very good.
Thank you all. Happy Veterans Day.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is Carmel Fire Department, 94 Gleneder Avenue. Mike, comments on the fire department?
Yeah, the applicant proposes to add an outdoor seating area with a 3-walled shade structure for seating, shed, fire pit, and seating wall with privacy fence around the area. What is the purpose of the shed? And other than the shed question, I have no objection to the waiver of site plan being granted.
How would you just highlight Rich's comments, if you don't mind, please?
Rich, Engineering Department does not have any objection to the waiver of the site plan, so he has no specific comments on this. And I just had a couple of things on this. The outdoor seating area is proposed in an area that we approved for, when we approved the site plan, was just lawn. So there was nothing there that's being displaced as a result of putting the seating there, seating area there. There is an easement, and I think the seating area either encroaches under the easement or just need to make sure, Adam, that the easement said, don't put an outdoor seating area on top of my easement. Okay?
Yep.
clarify if there's any lighting that's proposed out there. And just the final piece was, what's a three-walled structure, whatever that is? So just tell us more about what that structure is. Is it a tent? Is it a building? Is it?
It's a lean-to structure, so I think we have a
It's a
detail.
three-walled shade structure.
Right.
What were those,
Yurts.
Remember the-
I'm gonna get him a yurt.
That was a
all
round
know what
shade structure, that's different.
John, how do you know what I was thinking? That's exactly what I was thinking.
Because handsome people think alike. That's how I know.
I couldn't get it out. That's
When I want to be when I grow up, that's all.
That was Camp Kiwi.
Yes. You got me out there, couldn't get it.
Yeah, that's one of those things we'll learn, we'll never forget now.
So, Adam, what, for everyone's benefit, why don't you just give us an overview of what you plan?
Sure. So the board will recall the project. You've seen it under construction for a while now. It's currently under TCO. It's getting very close to a full CO on the main project. And so, as was mentioned, we're requesting a waiver of the amended site plan for the addition of an outdoor seating area. I'll jump back to our plan now. It would be an enclosed area. It would have a tan 6-foot fence in this area out here, essentially an area for the firefighters to be able to go out and get some fresh air. There's a proposed fire pit area with a small stone seat wall.
Is the bank on the right of you?
The bank,
Where's the bank?
the bank is here.
Ah, okay, yep.
So fire station here. The new driveway to the rear is here, and it would just be on the other side of that driveway. Again, fully enclosed, 6-foot fence. There would be this lean-to structure, and again, I'll bring that detail back up, and a small shed in this location here. The comments about the lean-to, this would be, the structure would be three-sided, so it would be enclosed on two sides. It'd have a pitched roof, and then the front, which would be this side here, would be open. And so it's just a shelter from the sun.
What's the dimensions?
The dimensions on that would be 20 by 8.
And Adam, what's it made out of?
Wood. It'd be wood.
And what's the shed for?
Sheds to store lawn furniture. They're gonna bring a couple of chairs. It's also gonna be used by the ambulance corps. They gave us a easement through their property for the patient road.
Can you use the microphone? I'm
Mike,
sorry.
come up and.
Nobody can
I'm
hear
sorry.
you.
And state
Yeah,
your-
we're gonna, Mike Engel, Chairman of the Board of Directors for the Carmel Fire Department. We're gonna also share this area with the ambulance corps. We have a written agreement with them when the project was done, if we did anything for the members, that the ambulance corps staff could also use it, because they had joined us and they were nice enough to give us an easement for the road to go through that we needed to do this project. So it's gonna be a shared area with us and the ambulance corps, and the fire department's gonna provide that.
How close is the ambulance corps garage? Is that up on the upper right there?
Yeah, that's all the way down there. This is up the road and at the top.
There's no house behind there, right?
The house is way down the hill.
There's not one right behind it, though.
There's an apartment building that's over here.
There is, okay.
Yeah, there's an apartment, but I think there's 4 apartments. in
That's
that
fine, just keep that in mind. Don't put like outside music and things like that.
Right, and to answer the question that Pat had about lighting, we're not proposing any additional lighting, nothing else. It's just, we wanted to close it in so there's some privacy, because there are people that do use that right away to get in and out of the bank, so.
Are you sure, you're gonna be storing items in there? You sure a three-sided structure does what you wanna do?
The three-sided structure is not for storage. The shed is for storage. Use the microphone. The shed is here. That would be, that's what he was saying. That's what the storage would be. The three-sided structure is really just a shelter. It's just for a place for somebody to come in out of the sun or,
Okay. I am concerned about how it looks architecturally, believe it or not. Tell us more about it. Wood structure, painted, what, is it sided?
We'll do whatever the town wants. We weren't sure what to propose, so we just proposed that area. It's just, like I said, it's going to be an outdoor area. It'll be used, during the day, maybe early evening, nothing late,
No lights put out there?
No additional light. There is a light pole that's on the road that was already approved by the town, and that'll actually shine light into the area, so we don't need any additional lights.
Gentlemen, there is an extra microphone on the side of the podium.
So I think you're hearing that the applicant, the fire department, is open to any color suggestions that you might have as far as the shed and the lean-to structure are concerned. Again, I want to emphasize that it is going to be fully enclosed with a 6-foot tan vinyl fence, so it'll be behind a 6-foot privacy fence. Again, tan to help it kind of blend into the landscape and the trees that kind of surround that portion of the site.
So it's a 6-foot fence, but the height of the lean-to is 20 feet high?
No,
It's 20 feet long.
Long, okay, 8 feet high, okay.
And the height, we have at 12 feet.
Yeah, okay.
So why don't you do like a texture 111 on the walls, and then just put a roof on top? Texture 111 is the plywood with the lines cut into it.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
That's
Just so
fine.
it looks like, and then you can paint it, whatever
Right.
color, stain it.
We're good with
It'll
whatever the
last a
town
little
wants.
longer that way. It's already made for outside, so.
Okay.
And I like the fire pit on the fire department lawn. That's a touch. I like it. Yeah, good practice.
When are the hot dogs being served?
Any other questions? Mike, you could work with Mike on this.
Sure, no problem, whatever.
Any other questions?
No, I would just say that it's really, the firehouse looks really, really good.
Thank you,
I
appreciate that.
pass by it all the time, and I've watched the garages being put up, and the black top and the stripes for the thing. It looks really nice.
We're happy it's finally done.
Yeah, looks good. I remember it was the old Grand Union
Yes, so do I.
back when, we rode horses to school.
Any other comments? No. All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The minutes of September 14th, 2023 were distributed. Do we have a motion to accept?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to accept, subject to the comments that I distributed to the board and to Rose. They were minor comments.
Oh, I know.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah, he actually is.
Before we adjourn tonight, we'd like to welcome Nicholas Alzano to our planning board. Welcome, look forward to working with you.
Thank you. I
Thank
look forward
you.
to working with you as well.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn? No, sorry. This is. This not, it's not on for a public hearing. You can check with Rose during the week. To get information as far as what's going on there. Okay. Yeah, yes, that's the best way to do it.
I just know what you had to decide on tonight or what the decision was, that's all.
Just the motions that Ray had read.
Yeah, there's pending litigation, so I've advised the board not to comment any further other than what was said at the open portion of the hearing tonight, but it's not a public hearing.
Nothing was said as far as the open portion of the hearing tonight.
There was a motion made, it was unanimously, so that was the
Oh,
part.
yeah, that's what I couldn't hear, I didn't really know what that meant, so I was trying to clarify that if I could.
Yeah, again, I can't do that, you can follow up with Rose, but there's pending litigation, so I've advised the board not to comment further.
Okay, just what was the motion though?
Again, you can read the minutes, you can get it from Rose, I'm not gonna expound upon it, it was done, it's over.
Was it said here before?
It was on the agenda tonight.
We kicked off the meeting with it.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah. You just said it. Okay. I'll talk to Robert. All right, Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.